Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and last time, things got a little chaotic in our match over here against what was, by most accounts, a fairly normal Nilfgaardian opponent in a standard battle, and yet, well, let's just say if you didn't see it, I recommend you check it out because, some very strange dynamics were at play during that match. We did end up winning, of course, but as for what we have planned this time around, we did also learn of a new puzzle over here, and something over here. I mean, this area is large enough, I imagine there will be something else over here of some variety, so maybe there are other things that we don't yet know about that we'll run into as well, but let's head in that general direction. Like, is this already something that fits that description? Yes, it is. Okay, I have no idea. Oh, what is that? And that looks like a little fire pit. What is this? Your Majesty, we found corpses in the tents. That's not good news. Traveling merchants, it appears. Seems they were killed whilst they slept. Drained of blood to the last drop. Vampires, you'd have to think then. We've already buried the bodies, but didn't know what you wish to do with their wares. Okay, this is weird. I mean, obviously, morally, stealing from the dead is maybe not the best thing to do. Then again, it's one of those classic things where, you know, in an RPG, it's like, oh, well, you know, after every single battle, you are getting resources and items from defeating enemies, and you don't bat an eyelid, you don't bat an eye, whatever the expression is, at that, and then suddenly, you get taken out of that context, and there's a situation in which you, like this, are just point blank asked, do you want to steal from the dead? And you're like, no, I would never do that. Well, you've been doing that the entire playthrough, which, you know, in Thronebreaker is maybe not exactly the way that things play out, but then again, I mean, do we really know what happens after we defeat Nilfgaardian enemies and monsters? I mean, that's basically what we're doing, right? We don't just magically get gold and wood every time we finish a fight. I mean, some of that is coming from specific upgrades that we got, but still. So, you know, is this really any worse than what we already do every time we complete a battle? Maybe, maybe not. But the thing that gets me here is that there's no stated downside to doing this, which makes me wonder if there are some later implications for having done it. You know, it's going to factor into some other decision that we make, and what people think of Queen Meve at the end of it all, or something like that, although, you know, these little reports here are usually not a very big deal. They're usually just truly contained to this one little encounter, do not have any long-term implications, but you'd expect this to at least give us low morale. I don't know, we'll do it. But it doesn't have the icon saying that everyone will remember that, but as I say, you know, it's really not much different from any other encounter that we've had, any other battle in which we get the spoils after defeating our opponents. But let's head over here, because I think this is the puzzle. Yeah, let's see what the deal is here. Whoa. Okay, that's not really what I expected to see. Are those might be Rivians. Don't look like Nilfgaardians, and obviously, what, an Arrakis of some sort? Let's see if we can help him out. Okay, so Ravenholm, I assume that's the name of this place. That's, isn't that almost the name of the... Oh no, it's what, Drakenborg or something like that? I don't know. There's a new multiplayer Gwent card, relatively new multiplayer Gwent card that has a similar name to this, but alas, I don't think it's named after the same city. Pretty sure that city in the multiplayer card is in Redania. But the locals had a warning for the Queen. We don't go to Ravenholm. After Nilfgaardians had scorched the village, beasts claimed what remained. For a time, the venerable Grigory, man with grief, resisted them, until they finally tore him to shreds, that is. Boost one unit to at least 125 power, I'm all in. Say no more. Use your leader ability. Gotcha. Puzzle, special rules, shortened battle, custom deck, let's do it. I am looking forward to it. I'm all for the boost. Hey, what the heck is this, though? Okay. maybe not exactly the way that I thought this was going to be set up, but let's see. So damage all enemies by 1 and boost an ally by the amount damaged. So presumably you'd want to do that at the beginning. But that's a lot of leader ability charges. What is our leader ability? Okay, we are Gascon for whatever that's worth, but force an Arrakis drone to consume adjacent horizontal and vertical units. If the power of any consumed unit was odd, boost Arrakis drone by its power. If it was even, damage Arrakis drone by its power. Oh. Okay, hold on. Okay. Some, mathematical theories we're gonna have to put to the test here. So we basically want to, that means always consume an odd-powered Arrakis drone. We never want to consume an even-powered one, or at least we want to minimize the amount of times we do that. So obviously everything is 2-power at the moment, so that means we have to go leader ability, or rather Black Blood immediately, otherwise we are doomed to just lose power here, because yeah, there's no other way around it, so we have to do this. Oh, wait. Why are you forcing me to do it twice? We have to do it on both sides? Is that it? Oh, oh, okay. Now, admittedly, I forgot about the whole boost unit by the amount of damage you dealt part, and that may or may not factor into what happens for the remainder of this challenge. But, so now what we want to do, we want to consume the odd-powered ones, and think... So by putting this one in the middle, we obviously want to try to make this our biggest one, or feed this to something else and make that one our biggest one. Like, actually, this might be... Oh, no, then we get damaged by that. So yeah, we need to consume here. You know, as for whether putting it right in the middle is the right decision or not, who knows? Because as I said, I forgot about that second part of the ability. But so... So all adjacent units. So we do this, we're going to consume here, 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 and here. Which means we're getting boosted there, but we're getting damaged here. So yeah, I don't know if that was the right choice. I mean, I guess we could do this, getting boosted by 3, which gets you up to 4, which we don't love. Although what happens positioning-wise in that case? Let's just test this here. See how this interaction works. Oh, that boosts everybody. The entire board. Oh. Okay, and suddenly this is way better. So now we have a bunch of odd-powered cards here. Okay, so this is interesting. This is very interesting. Very unique, and I do generally like these types of puzzles the most. Where they fundamentally change the way that Gwent works, but... Okay, so... It did not actually get rid of any of the ones on the board, which is usually what happens when you consume, so we don't really need to worry about cards moving around after getting rid of one of them. So, if the power of any consumed unit was odd... Force it to consume. Yeah, what? Why? Apparently it's every Arrakis drone. But it doesn't seem to say that anywhere, and yet that is apparently the way that it works. So that's kind of weird, but okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can do that again. For mostly odd-powered ones there. I mean, can we just rinse repeat this over and over again? Because we will get hit a little bit by this guy, but this outweighs that. I mean, perhaps we can find a better spot then, because this would be better still. I mean, are we basically... I guess we want to make this as big as possible and then feed it to this guy? Or eventually get these guys onto odd power would be ideal? Yeah, so... Like, if we do this, let's say... I don't know. I don't know. Again, there's definitely some... Oh, I didn't even look over there. I don't remember what number that was. But, there's definitely some more precise mathematical approach that you can take to this which is not, at the moment, really what I'm doing beyond just, oh, these are big numbers that are odd, let's go for that. But I would think you'd want to get a couple of big units next to each other and get them on odd numbers. Like, you are surrounded by big cards at the moment, but that's too many even-powered cards. So that's not ideal, but that perfectly evens out, theoretically? Huh. That's negative, because this big, or not good at least, because of that big 12. Oh, man. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I didn't really come into this with that much of a plan. I'm kind of curious to just see what happens if we just kind of, you know, throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what happens. I mean, that's a lot of odd-powered cards next to each other, right? Where does that leave us? Like, is that good enough? You have an 11, you have a 15. Those are nice, but you have an 8 that's even, but it's a smaller number, and that's an even number as well, but it's also smaller than this, so on net, that should still be a positive, but I don't know, man. You are now an odd number. Oh, I mean, this looks pretty sweet right here. I don't know. Basically, just click on whatever the biggest number is for cards that have odd numbers around them. Like that. 25 looks intriguing right about now, as does this. So if we were to go for you have all odds around you, in fact. So I guess we just do that. I mean, again, I think technically speaking, we'd like to have big cards close by, because, like, if we could get these on an odd number, then click on you or you, and we're looking really good. But at the moment, there's a lot of even cards around you, which is not great. In fact, there are a lot of even cards in general. This looks decent. Big boost, big boost. Relatively big loss, but that's still slightly better, and this is, you know, way better than the loss we're getting there. I'm sure there are, you know, obviously I'm not looking at every single card on the board. Like, this is better still, I think. Just kind of whatever happens to catch my attention first. And now, you're a big odd number. You guys are still evens. And again, like, with some math, with some more planned out stuff, I'm sure I can figure out, like, what technically is the best way to get you onto an odd number. I mean, yeah, you could do that, but I'm not really sure you need that level of precision here. So I think we can basically just go big number, go boom, and continue with that strategy, which is basically how I would summarize the approach I've taken thus far. However, we've a lot of even numbers in and around where I was targeting before. You are odd. You're odd, you're odd, so this could be huge. Is that too far away for us, though, to benefit much from it? I mean, it's still indirectly going to make these guys bigger, and perhaps we're getting close enough that we don't even need to combine these with big stuff. Because just that alone is going to do the trick. Oh, no, it doesn't boost everything by that huge number, but, I mean, at this point, yeah, if we can get... Yeah, no, that's an even number. Definitely don't mess that one up. But if we can get you onto an odd number, that'd be great. You're odd. You're odd. You're odd, although not a huge factor. You're even, but not a huge factor. I mean, this is probably enough right here. Although I kind of want to keep on doing this just to see how big of a number we can get. Because there it is. Okay, fair enough. Was it the most efficient way to get it done? No, absolutely not. But it was fun. It was fun, and in truth, didn't require too much critical thinking, because at the end of the day, it did not require that much precision. You could just, like I said, basically click on big numbers, and eventually you'd succeed. I kind of wish you could just continue to go further. There should totally be a hidden chest here. There should totally be a hidden chest here. Like, I know I say that pretty regularly, but there should totally be a hidden chest here. In fact, I'm pretty surprised that there isn't, to the point where I feel like there is one here and I'm just barely missing it, but apparently not. Okay. What about the stuff going on over here? We have a letter. Misfortune has befallen me. Yeah, so apparently this city in general was falling on some hard times. Those without mercy attacked me without cause. Woe to all, for our final resting place is far, and we but wander blindly in the realm of chaos. Good mother, I pray your light never fades. Hear me, and slay my enemies when I shout thy name. Bit of a prayer as well. Also heard a church bell, which, not gonna lie, startled me a little bit because it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's not often that we hear ambient sounds like that that are not just built in directly to the music. And what is your deal?
Nilfgaard will not spit in our maws.
Okay. True.
Lady, the traitors run before you. Find me a map, and I'll show you where they buried the loot.
Oh. Okay. I mean, you'd think that'd be pretty easy to track down. That looks like a palisade, wooden fence, broken cart, tent, and some kind of watchtower with a Nilfgaardian flag, and those are probably paths. There's a chance we've already seen that spot.
Nilfgaard will not spit in our maws.
Can we figure out where that is right now? I mean, now I want to look back at it once again, but... Hold on. Oh, we have this... Oh, we actually... So that's the one we just picked up, but we've not... Ooh. Gotten that one yet. Wait. That should also be really easy, or at least very noticeable. Big fortress. Yeah, we tried over there, right? But that wasn't it. Was it here? And that also kind of looks like it. Like, city with a big fortress. And maybe it's over there? Or here? It looked like there was a wall and then also a cliff. And there was sort of a rock formation that was next to the actual spot in question. I mean, obviously we don't need to get all the chests right now as soon as we see the maps, but those feel like they're distinct enough locations that they should be fairly easy to identify when they show up. I mean, there's a wall with a cliff next to it, but it was on the other side of that wall, I think, if this is in fact the spot. But what is this? This also looks like a place where you'd expect something to pop up. Yeah? There's nothing here? That's also a little odd. I mean, there's always a chance that we could get a future treasure map that sends us back in this direction, and so there may be a chest there. We just don't have the map yet to actually find that. Okay. I suppose on we go.
These lands, they look familiar to you?
Naturally, Your Grace.
I hope so.
They're the venerable Count Caldwell's.
Oh.
War, death, chaos. Everywhere but here. This land's positively pastoral.
Interesting. I mean, it's still a broken fence, but... So what happens to Caldwell's lands in that case? Obviously, Caldwell himself is no more. But do they just go to the crown, the state of Rivia? And so they're, I mean, obviously in some ways they were already Meves to begin with. But do we pass them down to a different noble? 18 recruits. It does feel like those numbers have been going up the amount that we've gotten when we get those recruit rewards. But, of course, hopefully we don't have to use them, ever. Let's see. Is this... yeah, this is in Nilfgaardian. Angven Elande and Palatine Caldwell. Ah, Caldwell, okay. Hail Cursa is the, like, Hail the Emperor, or, you know, it's the Nilfgaardian thing that they say. You are entering the estate of... Oh, well, there's a translation. You are entering the estate of Palatine Caldwell. Long live the Emperor. So this is his land, and then this is his estate, I take that to mean. So if there is something that we are going to do with his land, presumably, we would sort that out by going over here. Whoa, and that's... Yeah, that is a lot of Nilfgaardian flags. So, you know, Caldwell, of course, once upon a time, was a key advisor to Meve, or something along those lines, but it's pretty clear that as soon as the opportunity arose, he had no issue whatsoever with switching sides to Nilfgaard. Didn't exactly hold back, did he?
The traitorous Caldwell family's residence loomed into view. Against the horizon, it looked suitably sinister. Yet the manor had changed since Meve last saw it. 2 new wings, ornate towers, a grand colonnade. And the windows now glistened with stained glass, the gilded hue of imperial suns.
We must
Yep.
pay them a visit.
Seethed the queen.
So I anticipate the question here is going to be, we're going to have a choice. Basically, we can punish Caldwell's family probably in some very significant way. You know, we maybe imprison them, maybe even outright kill them, or at least take their estate away from them. Or do we say, no, it was Caldwell himself and not the rest of his family members who were at fault, and therefore we can let them, the people here in front of us, get by? So that's what I expect will be the decision we have to make here in just a minute.
The great double doors opened with an echoing thud. Just inside them stood the heir to the estate, Dragomir,
Okay,
his wife
there's
and
the answer to
2
that question.
children by his side, and Helena, the treacherous count's widow. Sliding the cap from his head, thus giving proof of the family's hereditary baldness, Dragomir
Okay.
knelt down upon
Doesn't
one
look
knee.
bald there, assuming that's that guy.
Your Grace, my father's betrayal stands beyond doubt and exoneration.
The young Caldwell said flawlessly, and in a single breath, as if he'd practiced a dozen times.
And his death
Huh.
at your hands was most well deserved. I ask that ye not punish sons for the sins of their fathers. I ask humbly, with bowed head, allow me to stay on my ancestral lands, to serve faithfully as your loyal subject.
I believe not a word slithering out of his mouth,
Whispered Reynard.
the first chance he gets to stab you in the back, he will take.
Yeah, so there are a few little hints here that we can potentially read into. So, obviously, there's the stuff that we were talking about even before we saw this encounter pop up, where there are a bunch of Nilfgaardian flags, which, you know, you can throw those up pretty quickly and easily. It's not as if that's something that takes a lot of planning and setup time. Whereas, you know, reinstalling your windows to commemorate the glory of Nilfgaard is not something you do unless you're pretty committed to the whole Nilfgaard overthrowing Rivia thing. And so the point there being, okay, it's one thing if they just kind of did the bare minimum to make it seem like, hey, Nilfgaardians, don't bother us, don't worry, we totally support you, heh, heh, even though they don't, you know, really mean it all that much. Or, you know, are they fully committed to the whole betraying Rivia thing, and this is them legitimately going all in on supporting Nilfgaard? And so what we take from that is, okay, here this guy is saying, oh, I'm not to blame for what my father did, please don't blame me for it, don't do bad things to me because my father committed treason, basically. Or do we say, no, you might be saying that, but it's pretty clear that you're saying one thing, but your actions speak louder than your words, and that's sort of what Reynard is certainly saying here as well, that he doesn't believe what this guy is saying. The facts do kind of back that up, and the somewhat subtle, but where was it? The young Caldwell said flawlessly and in a single breath, as if he'd practiced a dozen times, is very cleverly written. Because if you want to, you can completely ignore that statement. On the other hand, if you do read into it, and you know, Thronebreaker has been really well written, so I think that was very intentional the way that was phrased, it implies that he has practiced this many times, and therefore he expected that Meve and or the other Rivians would show up at some point, and that he would potentially be in a whole lot of trouble if he didn't come prepared with some type of excuse. And that's exactly what this is basically just him trying to formulate the best possible way to avoid getting punished for what his father and maybe the rest of the family was doing in betraying Rivia. So I think we banish them. I do. I think that this guy is a phony.
Convenient to make this request now, don't you think? Why not earlier?
Meve asked, crossing her arms and raising her chin.
It would have behooved you to send a messenger once I'd crossed into Rivia.
That too.
Preferred to speak to you directly.
Sure.
For
For you held out hope. Hope that the Blackclads would yet defeat me. You stood
Yep.
on their side till the last. No. The Caldwells I trusted once, but I shan't make that error again. You've one day to pack your chattels and go. Leave my country.
Dragomir rose from his knee and shook out the cap he'd crushed in supplication.
Only ever as a corpse, Your Majesty.
He hissed.
Yep, he's gonna attack
In a
us.
flash.
If you'll not take me for your vassal, you must take me as your foe. Men, to arms!
At this
Okay.
time, armed men rushed from the house while archers appeared atop the roof.
Well, if there's any question,
Dragomir had expected to be refused.
yep, if there was any question what his intentions were, there is the answer. Okay, the Caldwell Legacy. Ooh, I like it. It's a shortened battle, just one round. Special rules as well. The old adage, the apple does not fall far from the tree, proved to be true once again. Dragomir was as loyal as his father, and by that you mean that he was not loyal to Rivia at all. He did, however, differ in one respect. He demonstrated competence in combat, presenting greater resistance than Meve had anticipated. He himself, or just, all the mercenaries that he's hired. Optional. Overpower your opponent within 5 turns? Oh, okay, well it is a shortened round, or shortened battle, so it's just 1 round, so that's not quite as ridiculous, not quite as dramatic of an early victory as it might seem, but yeah, I am curious to see additional details here. Also, usually that card back is of the faction of enemies that we're facing. So, like, Monsters card back for multiplayer Gwent, the, obviously, Nilfgaardian card back for multiplayer Gwent, but that is the Thronebreaker card back specifically, so that's a nice little touch as well. Okay, so let's see what the deal is here. So you say, I mean, we don't need to overpower them in 5 turns, but obviously I would love to do that. So what's your deal? Damage unit by the number of cards in this row, including self, loyal, damage random enemy nearest to self by 2. So we've seen this type of card before. Those guys get boosted pretty quickly. Family Pride. Every turn on turn start, reduce this card's timer by 1 if Meve is winning. When the timer reaches 0, Meve wins the battle. Oh, okay, so is this the... This is the way that you get the alternate optional achievement? Or optional win condition? So rather than just, like, destroy every single unit that is on the board, be in the lead for 5 turns? Basically? Okay. So that means we need to act quickly. And that means we don't need damage per se, we just need to put up a bunch of points at a high tempo rate. So slow stuff like Tainted Ale, which actually gives them points in the short term, probably not a great idea. Same with the Infiltrator. So, I mean, as we've said many times before, the answer is probably spamming Skellige dudes early and often. Probably don't have time for Mahakamail either, although that is worth a lot of points in the long term. It probably takes too long for that to set up. Isbel. That's another interesting one. Will we have enough time to set her up? Or is she a bit too much of a slow build-up card for that to be helpful? Artifact Impression. A little bit debatable. I mean, yes, we can steal one of their cards, which does reduce points on their side, but we're probably not going to want to play it on our side. It's only 10 points, I think. So, is that really helpful? I don't know that it makes a huge difference. Depends a bit on how powerful the cards are that they're going to play. Let's dump the Mahakamail, though. Barnabas, a bit hard to know. I mean, since we're only going for 1 round here, we might as well just kind of use all of our mulligans right now. Don't really think the Alchemist is going to make a huge difference.
You'll not destroy my family. I won't allow it.
Yeah, that is one strange inconsistency that, Thronebreaker has generally been pretty darn good about this stuff, but it did mention that he was bald, and he does not appear to be bald, either in the image we saw leading up to this encounter or that image just then. So I wonder if, is he wearing a wig or did I miss something there? But anyways, so we do start with 18 points on the board, which is useful, but they start with a little bit more than that. When does this on turn start? Okay, so that's a little bit easier. So we basically put almost any points on the board and we're gonna catch them here. So I'm thinking we do want to get one of the Skellige guys on the board turn 1, then use Divana Runestone second turn, and then we might break out with our leader ability, Dogger. That is, technically it takes a little bit of time to set that up, few turns, But since we don't need to do much to overtake them on this turn, maybe that's still okay. It does also mean we're delaying our leader ability, which is not great, but if we just need one big leader ability to make this work, then maybe that is sufficient. So why don't we... I think we're going for the warrior for the base power in that case. That's what we would prefer. So let's do that. And that's already enough for us to get one of these counters going. So that's probably fine. So that should go down to 4, and then next turn we can go...
A time to sow.
I also didn't even look at what their leader ability was. Trigger all allies loyal... Hold on. It's not even Caldwell himself either, it's his adherent, but... Trigger all allies loyal abilities twice. Okay. So yeah, they get a bunch of boosts there. That makes some sense then. They basically are very greedy with the boosts. So I'm actually curious to see if we can outscore them on this turn. You know, obviously the Skellige spam stuff is effective, but is it effective enough? We're about to find out. So I think we go to Vaughn of Runestone here. And long term, that's very helpful, because it made a lot of bigger Skellige dudes, but I think now is when we probably do play Dogger. I mean, we're only going to get back 24 points from those guys, but it's probably still good enough. And we can sacrifice more Disgraced Warriors, which, if we get a bunch of Skellige guys on the board, might still be a net positive. So I think that still makes sense. So let's dump you. We will get Dogger, and what else do we want? Probably another Disgraced Warrior, just to maximize the effectiveness of the Skellige synergies here. So my question is this going to be enough on this turn?
Give me some of that.
It might not be.
Is today the day?
Okay, it just barely is, by the looks of things. So that's good. And now we can start to consider doing things like sacrificing a Disgraced Warrior. Technically, we would prefer that it be the smaller guys to increase our power, and they're going to be on cooldown for that leader ability. So I think this was the big test, is can we catch them on this turn? I mean, obviously we don't really know what they're going to do on the next turn, but now I think we leave it there for the time being.
Aye.
It's one more of those. The Scythemen, they still can't use that leader ability, so we're still in the lead right now. So we could go Patricide, which is usually one of the best Skellige guys, although I think this might just all come down to sacrificing as many of the Disgraced Warriors as we can, and therefore getting more of them on the board here. So I think we might even prefer to go that route. And then there's definitely guys that are big enough to sacrifice the Disgraced Warriors, so if we do that, we're going to lose 9 points. We're going to strengthen all the other Skellige guys by 2. So that's what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So it is, at the moment, a net positive, and it does make the ones in our hand stronger as well. So I think that is still worth doing, mathematically speaking. And we just need a few more turns of that. Technically, we could have gone for more of them as well, though. Again, the more we have on the board, the more effective they become, and getting extra, you know, technically, if we could destroy some of them with a Disgraced Warrior and then use Reynard to replay those order abilities, and with the second round, actually do that sacrificing, that might be best. Though that does require that we have some guys that are maybe just a little bit bigger than they currently are, so we can go after that Arbalist. We're already in the lead, once again. So this could be a Reynard turn. Otherwise, we could get even more Skellige guys. These Brawlers are a little bit harder to sacrifice. Otherwise, you go Patricide, although he has high base power. Takes a turn before we can use that order ability. Maybe that's still fine.
Wanna know why I'm
So yeah, at this point, that's going to get this down to 1. So we just need one more turn of this. They're going to get their leader ability back. No. Okay, so we've already won, functionally. So, I mean, sure, we can play, but it shouldn't really matter here. It's as long as we do sacrifice one of you, I think. We actually want to do the sacrificing to power you up, I think. now we can... I mean, at this point, I'm probably overthinking this considerably, because we functionally already won, and now we're just potentially risking that we mess that up. But also, we technically should do this first. But now we can hit you... I mean, we don't really want to do that with the big Skelga dudes. We just want to sacrifice the little Skelga dudes. So we go Reynard.
Company!
And we're just going to sacrifice you, basically. Because is that enough? We have... It will power up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points and lose 9. So, I mean, technically it is a slight net positive. But, as I said, we've technically already won. Because that should reach 0 now.
Father was right about you.
Was he now? In what way? Do tell. What the heck is that? That is a multiplayer Gwent card, but in multiplayer Gwent, it's blue, and it has a totally different name, so I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Card has been added to our tent. Well, I mean, let's check it out.
Lay in the courtyard of his extravagant manor. With the last of his strength, he clawed at the coloured gravel. He resembled an insect that was hurt, damaged, yet pulled itself along as if it could somehow escape death. The Queen knelt beside him and gazed into his clouded eyes.
I want you to know your family will be looked after. You've relatives in Kedwen. They'll be sent there, properly escorted, with the proper stipend.
Dragomir wished to say something, but choked on his own blood. He was dead a moment later.
Interesting.
The Queen slowly stood and gave the order to march. She rode at the front of the column, deep in thought.
So Meve chose to do a favor, pretty big favor, for the remainder of the Caldwell family. Just the son here, Dragomir, the one who obviously died. But, okay, so we're blaming him for following in his father's footsteps, but not the rest of the family, which, debatable. We don't really have enough information to know to what extent the other family members were involved as well. We heard mention of Caldwell's wife, who's apparently, now widow, who's apparently here as well, but apparently she's getting off relatively easy. But that was a cool encounter. Cool premise, at the very least. Because upon hearing that this was Caldwell's estate, that was, the big question that I had was, okay, well, what do we do in that case? What becomes of this estate now that Caldwell is gone? And this was a very satisfying way to resolve that. And I think that, once again, as has been the case, 95 times out of 100, very well written, very well worked together. But we did get a new card, so let's take a peek at what that was. Oh, and potentially a new note or something like that as well. What was the card? It was the red potion thing. Shrike. Damage unit by 10. If it survived, boost it by 25. Okay. That's kind of interesting. It's a way to either deliberately destroy a Skelga guy if you have a bunch of them on the board and that's worth more points to you than just leaving them there. So that's one way. Or if a card is powerful enough, then, wait. I guess on net, if it survives the 10 damage and then gets boosted by 25, at the end of the day, it's net 15 boost, which is good. It's not amazing. Compare that to something like Becker's Dark Mirror, where it's also similarly potentially a 15-point swing, both for damage and for boosting. But this technically has higher end potential because it can both damage your opponent and boost you by 15. But there's some risk involved in this, and there's some risk involved in this. But with the Death Wish stuff, with all the Skelga guys, it's kind of interesting, the potential use cases for that Shrike. I don't know if that's necessarily good enough for us to add it to our deck or not. I mean, it doesn't take any board space, which is kind of nice, because as we've started to see, especially if we go super crazy in a full-length match with the Skelga guys, we will absolutely fill our board. So that's kind of nice to have a way to finish off a match and get at least some points without having to place another unit on the board. That might be the strongest case for adding this, honestly. But at least for now, I think we'll leave it out, but it's something we could consider adding in the future. What was it that we just added, though? New report from Caldwell. Dragomir. Oh, this will be interesting. My health is well. Thank you for asking. I've other troubles, though. I have it from a good source. Meve has left Mahakam with a dwarven recruit supplementing her ranks. I suspect she might mean to pay me a visit. As absurd as it sounds, in light of recent events, I have begun to entertain the possibility that Vile Wench might actually succeed in liberating Lyria and Rivia. As they say, fools have all the luck. In that case, do not count on mercy. I know her well, and trust me, never has a more vengeful, malicious woman walked this world. Wow. Harsh words might mean something if they weren't from someone who committed treason. As soon as you hear she's crossed the border, put your men on high alert. Kiss your wife and children. I hope we shall see each other soon. Caldwell. Okay, so this basically confirms all those suspicions that we had, that all along, Dragomir, much like Caldwell, was ready to betray, or continue to betray, Meve, and any attempt that he appeared to be making at seeming like a supporter of Rivia and Meve was just a farce. So, I mean, it does kind of make you wonder what would happen if you fell for it, and you did allow him to live on and continue to have this estate here. Because I'm sure he would try to play it off as if, oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah, that's no big deal. Don't worry about me. I 100% support Lyria and Rivia. Would he show up later and actually find a way to stab us in the back? Or was that just a theoretical thing that never actually comes to fruition later on in the game? I don't know. But either way, this is a good place for us to wrap up here, I think. And, I mean, that's several cool encounters that we had there. Both the puzzle and that there with the Caldwells. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll catch you next time.